All right, everybody. It has been a while since I've done this. It's since I want to say March, the last time I interviewed or talked with a sibling. This is now November, about to embark upon the holiday season, and I'm excited to get to talk to my sibling here. We have been chasing each other for a while, so I'm glad that we finally got time to sit down and just chat about our siblings and hear more stories from other siblings. I love to be able to talk to other siblings so that, it's not just me, not just my voice that you hear, but other siblings that have been through similar experiences or have different perspectives or different life than what I did. So maybe someone out there who's listening is able to pick and choose what fits them the best and what touches their heartstrings and see themselves in one of our stories. So today, again, I have a new sibling with me, and I'll let her go ahead and introduce herself. Tell the audience who you
So,
are.
okay, my name is Andrea, and um, funny, I was thinking about it today. I had a laughing moment today. I am the youngest sibling of two older sisters. One is deceased, and she's the sister to whom I was most closest. She was like a sister and a mom, and her name is Gloria. So I am Andrea, government name, family name, Angie. Um, Sibling of Robin and Gloria. The sibling that has transitioned is Gloria.
Gloria. Okay. All right. So this session is dedicated, or episode is dedicated to Gloria. Gloria.
Mm-hmm.
You really thought about that when you said Gloria. Oh my goodness. All right. So if you are to tell us about Gloria, Gloria, the sister and the mom.
Mm-hmm. So she's the firstborn of three. We came from a complicated family on both the maternal and paternal side. Um, but she was about 6 years older than me. We are born in the same month, which is December. Um, my date of birth is December 15th, and her birthday is December 2nd. And we were raised together during my formative years, which is very, very important. So I would like to think that she's one of the first people that I met as a new being to the planet. And she definitely took care of me up close and in person until the age of 4. And then we were separated, and I would get to see her during the summers, not every summer, but most summers. But she's just somebody that I don't remember ever not knowing, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So she transitioned when I was very young. I will say that she died unexpectedly in an auto accident when I was like 19 years old. And so she was 26. Um, and it was definitely during a major transition period in my life. We had lost contact because of our housing situation. I had gone through homelessness, and I had been trying to reach her, and could never reach her. And then I found out that she had transitioned. So I will say that and I'm 50. I'll be 51 next month, and I will say that loss changed the trajectory of my life, and it changed me as a person.
believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it.
And it's something that I've never recovered from, but I will say that since about 2019, I've gotten to a point where uh, you had posted a question on Facebook about betrayal. Um, and it triggered that question, triggered something for me because I remember having felt like I had betrayed my sister before she transitioned. So I don't think I ever really allowed, and I was also very young, um, and didn't have all the education then that I have now. So I don't think that I ever really allowed myself to grieve. Like I never gave myself the privilege to grieve. But then I finally did because Gloria kept visiting me, like in my dreams, um, telling me to check on her son, which I did. I found her son, which was a mystery to him, but not to me. Somehow, like that gave me peace. She gave, I guess, I don't know, I guess she was just sort of letting me know that everything is okay. Like you're okay. Like you're too hard on yourself. Um, you're not supposed to carry my pain and your pain. And and so now I've been living and moving differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At what age, because you said you'll be 51 coming up in December, what
Mm-hmm.
age did you realize that you had never grieved and started to grieve?
I would say in 2019, I would say that I started grieving. I gave myself permission to grieve then. But I would say that I would say that I realized that I hadn't really grieved. I didn't realize that I hadn't really grieved until like 2015. Um, because again, she died when I was 19.
Right.
So I was, I was a baby all the way around. And, we came from a very abusive family, very dysfunctional family. And and today, this morning, my meditation, I meditate. I try to meditate every morning, and I pray. And this morning, for some reason, karma came up, and it was about the karma is sometimes in people living to be older.
Mm.
They say the good die young, right? But sometimes the people who were really, really hateful and hurtful, they live to be really, really old. And somebody brought this up to me. I hadn't really noticed it. But then today, when I was in the shower and I was doing my meditation, it came up for me that sometimes the people that were hateful live older, like it's their karma, so that they can see the aftermath of some of the choices that they've made.
Mm. That's heavy.
It's freeing,
Mm.
but it was heavy carrying that around for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, with your having to start around or realizing in 2015 that you had not grieved, and then starting that process in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
when you say I gave myself permission in 2019, what did that look like?
Great question. That looked like integrating all parts of the loss. So sometimes when you come from dysfunctional families, um, you're not allowed to be human.
Mm.
Um, you can't be hot and cold. You can't be good and bad. Like you're just one of those things. So for me, I realized that I was complicating the grief by holding myself accountable for some of the things that our mother made me do when I was a child.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, that was my experience, but that's not the truth of my experience. And so now I feel like I can openly converse, if you will, with my sister um, without any hangups because I don't have any shame or any guilt around some things that happened when I was a little girl.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
And so now I'm like so free, Chris, whereas before I was so wound up, but now I'm so free. And now I'm like, look, sis, no hands. I said, look, sis, no hands. As I, as I go through life, like I feel like I know that she's like, oh yeah, you're killing it,
Yeah.
killing it, you're
Yeah.
killing it, little girl, you're killing it. Yeah,
And I know
yeah.
for people who don't understand loss in this way,
Mm-hmm.
people might not understand where we are coming from and why things may take this long to even face.
Well, we're not given permission, which is why your podcast was so interesting to me. You had it had something I had read somewhere was like, hey, look, there was a sibling. Um, and not only that, like I was the youngest sibling. And so sometimes, like when you're the youngest, you can be a little bit out of control. And it's because sometimes you have to yell a little bit louder because people don't see you, they don't hear you.
Yeah.
Um, and that was an epiphany that came to me today as I, continue to go through my healing work. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, of course. I'm the youngest. I was, being the only.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this one right here was the loud one. And I grew up not being loud whatsoever. Now in my adult years, I am loud and expressive. But at the
Right.
same time, I had to learn to be more expressive about my feelings because
Mm-hmm.
feelings didn't seem to be the thing that we talked about, in the household.
Right. 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 For me, speaking of which, like Gloria's transition was so hard for me because feelings were something we didn't have to talk about. We could just look at each other, or we could
Yeah,
just say a word, or a song could play. And even with my sister from whom I'm estranged, like we still had this knowing, like we still had this awareness.
yeah,
And for that to be lost, like you feel, I felt, I'm not going to project onto anybody else, but bro, I felt so freaking lost. Like I have felt untethered for a long time.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I completely. I mean, with you saying that, I can think of many times where we just, looked at each other. Or even when my brother was suffering from the cancer, and I remember just laying with him in his bed, and we didn't say anything, but it was almost like we were talking to each other without us saying anything. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't, I want to say it's more like that's your first companion, uh
Mm-hmm.
known that person that is your historian, that is somebody who has been through what you've been through. Even if you
Mm-hmm.
are in separate households, there are times where it's a connection. It almost
Mm-hmm.
feels like it's because people talk about soulmates only being somebody you're intimate with. Soulmates can be anybody. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like my sibling was my soulmate. That we
For
could
sure.
be that connected without talking to each other, have intuition on each other to
Mm-hmm.
know something is
Mm-hmm.
wrong, or when you don't feel well, or when you know your mom and daddy is acting up, and they just look at you like, child.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we came from a family of so many secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And she, like, obviously understood that because she was older than me. So it's like when I would have some of my epiphanies, because she was so much older than me, um, wisdom and all, like, and I thank her. Like I'm honored because I recognize that the bit of childhood that I did have was because of the sacrifices
Yeah.
that she made.
Yeah.
And even for the sacrifices that my other sister that's still living, um, she made some too. Like I'm conscious enough to know that. But yeah, the soulmate, yeah, for sure. Definitely my soulmate. And um, I choose her again and again. And like now that I am able to, um, now that I don't have guilt, I'm free. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
22 at 22 for me has been a different year. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's been a lot of healing. I myself am a therapist. I know you're in the field as well. Uh,
Yes.
and I see a therapist, and we are working
Yes. I
on,
see a therapist.
yeah, we're working on my trauma narrative. We're working on feelings. We're working on boundaries. We're working on these things that came upon me as a 14-year-old griever. And now I'm 40, and those things are starting to kind of come out and free me. And people are like, I don't know who this is. Like, oh, you have changed and have. Thank you and have.
Period.
And it feels good to me to get this off of my chest. It does
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
immediately without being internal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like my sister, like today, I'm gonna channel Beyonce, like, some of that ocean energy. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like my sister is definitely, I know, it's not even a feeling. I know my sister is definitely proud of me because my sister was the badass. Like, she beat people up.
This one. That's definitely that one.
um, and like, we were from a small town, but I didn't continue being raised there. She did. And she was Mike Tyson, sis. Like, she didn't mince words with people,
Yeah.
um and so I've become that person now, except I'm not going to lay hands on you,
Yeah.
because I don't want, I don't really want to catch a case, but I'm willing to. And so
Yeah.
I was thinking, this week, as I like put some family in their place permanently, I was like, on Gloria. You know how the kids be like now, they be like on my mama,
Yeah, yeah,
on your shoe. Like
yeah,
for the first time in my life, I was like, and on Gloria to
yeah,
myself because I know that that's the kind of gangster move she would play.
yeah,
Like she's not gonna sit here and mince words with you and go back and forth with you. Like she was the Sophia. She was gonna come for your neck. And so now I operate from that space of bravery.
yeah,
And some people see it as out of control because I was quiet. I would just disappear. I would just disappear. But now I'd be like, I'm sorry, what?
yeah, yeah. I just got little chill bumps on that.
I saw you, girl. I saw you. I saw that stank eye roll that you did.
Baby, I just mm, mm, mm. Because I have many and plenty, examples from being at jobs and friendships and things of that nature. And I, for a long time was quiet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what would you tell a sibling who is just experiencing the loss of their sibling? What would you tell them?
Mm. Oh my gosh. Um, mm. I would tell them to feel. I would tell them to feel, and I would tell them that the only way to is through.
Mm, mm,
And my regret is that even though I didn't know any better, and even though Gloria is no longer on this realm, like I wasted a lot of years that I can't get back by being stuck in that trauma because her death was a trauma for me. Like it was like one day she was here and the next day like she legit wasn't here. And I was such a baby, Chris, that when I went to her funeral, I made the mistake of kissing her because I used to always kiss her on the cheek.
mm.
And I was such a baby. I didn't know that wasn't like I wasn't going to feel her. Um, and I didn't have the wisdom then that I have now. You know, the therapy.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't a therapist then.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't go see a therapist then. So I encourage people to know about grief. There are stages of grief.
Yeah.
Be patient with yourself and journal if you have to so that you can remember. That's what I would say because I sort of tapped out.
Yeah. 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 Emotionally. Kind of going
Mm-hmm,
through autopilot and tending to other people's needs
mm-hmm,
and continued for a long time to try to tend to other people's needs and be a nurturer for other people's needs
mm-hmm.
versus my own. Um, Tap out is a good word.
Yeah. And now I'm at a place of this is what I know. People who really care about me, they're not going to put me in a situation where their needs are over mine. So people who put me in those situations, I realize they're not supposed to be in my space anymore.
Mm-hmm. So telling a sibling to feel all of the emotions. I've told people that if they need to go inside of a closet and have a temper tantrum inside of a closet or in their house, in the
Mm-hmm.
car, wherever they need to be, but to have it Um,
Mm-hmm.
because so many times we are holding all of that stuff in, which statistically, you being 19, me being 14, put us at risk for all of those young grievers out there, and even seasoned grievers, put us at risk for so much in the future. Mental health illness, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, suicidality. Uh, that is statistically, that has been science, that we have young grievers have been in those situations, having trouble in school or academia, going to college, trying to transition in so many different areas of life. Because what happens is, even though you had a death at 19, I had a death at 14, at every life transition we are still grieving in a different way. Once
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from high school or went to college, it was nice to be able to go to college, but my grief was different in college than it was when I graduated from grad school. We will have different different feelings, different sections, I would say, of our grief at every different transition.
Oh yeah, and I think um, it's important to know that it's not for me. Like it's nothing that you get over. you 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 figure out what your new normal is.
Yeah.
Because who I was, so it's like BC. So before her death, who I was and who I am now, I'm
Yeah.
not the same.
Not the same. And you will not be the same. Hello. You will never, ever
Mm-mm.
be the same.
Mm-mm. No.
I describe it as there was a change in my whole DNA. That's just how
Oh,
deeply I
for
feel.
sure. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. And I have cousins who, people look on your, I don't know, people look at social media and they assume certain things, but people always talk about like how strong I am and how I'm like willing to go to different countries and, um, how I just like get up and go. So I told my cousin the other day, because I don't share. I normally don't share. I just carry it all. But I told him, I said, when Gloria died, um, the first thing that I got on was a plane, because I had to fly to get to her funeral, and it was like I could feel her. I felt closer to her in the clouds, and so
Mm,
I travel to feel closer to my sibling. I'm always chasing her. It's not going to stop.
yeah, I like that.
It's not going to stop. I'm always, and I always will do little sister shit. Like, um, today I sent a text message to my kids and I was like, the miracle is that y'all made it, because I am Angie, the little sister of Gloria and Robin. Like, little sis,
Yeah,
we can we can be handfuls. So the fact that they made it, like, that's the miracle.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
because I had been taken care of. Like, I was, my sister, like, they did spoil me. They did protect me. They did mother me. They did shield me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I experienced some privilege because of them,
Yeah,
and I don't take it for granted. Probably did when I was younger, but I don't now.
we do. Because we don't know. We don't know until we get a bit
Mm-hmm.
older. But this one, this
Yeah.
did too. This was a protector right here. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
like, like you said, you travel to be chasing your sister. I took a solo trip to Parisma Creek, um, forest in California a few years ago because my brother and I used to run the woods. We had woods in the back of our house, and we were in those woods, it seemed like all day, every day. And there's times where I need to smell a tree. I need to be around some dirt, some wet dirt,
Mhm.
some grass, some something, so I could just feel connected. And I went up there to the forest in California. It was a little cool. I could smell the trees, the redwoods. They were so beautiful. And then I just went up to a redwood and just put my arms around it.
Mhm.
And the energy from that tree was so healing. And I could hear my brother playing. I could hear us as little kids, like the spirit of us little kids, just playing around with our bikes and running, getting dirty. And it was, I can still feel it right now. And it was the best trip solo that I've ever taken. Outside trip.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel you with the traveling to chase your sister.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we will continue.
Yeah. She's always there on the other side of whatever it is that I'm fearful of.
Mm, mm. Like, come on,
Mhm.
you're gonna be okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
You're gonna be okay. Let's go.
Mhm.
Let's go. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I'm thankful for your sisters. I am thankful for my brother, for all the siblings that are represented in the Facebook group, and those who are listening out there who are not a part of the Facebook groups, those siblings who were protectors, those siblings who, I mean, just were angels, whether they were older, middle, or somewhere in between.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you. I'm grateful for you.
Thank, thank you. Because I can actually feel your energy. I know we are on Zoom and all of that, but I am taking in your words. I'm taking in your energy. I can feel your energy. There's something about the way you express yourself that it's like hit me right here.
I hope that's a good thing.
Yes, ma'am. It is.
Mhm.
To feel somebody
Well,
in the room is
I
a good
appreciate
thing.
your time because
Yes.
I was like, I know she's like, I was like, she's probably like this lady. Jesus.
Hey, we use grace. We use grace. So
Yes. Come on.
before I stop recording,
Mhm.
um, I appreciate my sister here, my sibling, my fellow surviving sibling, for meeting with me, for taking time out of her schedule to meet and give us the story of Gloria. Do you have any other or any last words for fellow siblings out there that may be listening?
Um, I think the best thing that we can do is to keep living, but like I try not, I try for Gloria's life to not be in vain.
Mm,
So strapping my dog up so I can take him out, but like everything that I do, I try to do in honor of her. Um, I do smile because I feel it. Like, I feel like smiling. And, I do things to honor my sister. Like now I have my nails long, which um, when I was younger, I had longer nails, but that's because I didn't go get manicures regularly. But now I have longer nails intentionally because I see like little signs of my sister. Like her nails would sort of curve over when they got to a certain length. And so, I do things to honor my sister. Like now I have my nails long, which um, when I was younger, I had longer nails, but that's because I didn't go get manicures regularly. But now I have longer nails intentionally because I see like little signs of my sister. Like her nails would sort of curve over when they got to a certain length. And so,
think I lost my sibling.
Um, to seek and see glimpses of your sibling. It's okay. I think that's part of the grieving process. And I think it's a part of the gift of life for those that we're left on this side. And I think it's also important to remember that love transcends. Oh my God, this was a hard but amazing lesson. Love transcends time and space. So if I get real quiet, if I do mindfulness, um, I can feel her love for me.
Yeah.
And so that is why I do the healing work that I do. And that's why I do the work with people that I do with people. Because any of them could have been my sister. So any of our siblings.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I definitely appreciate you. You look marvelous. I'm just gonna tell you that. Look like you got a little glow.
Thank you.
Got a little glow going on.
Well, that's the psychedelic treatment, but we'll have to talk about that offline. It is legal. Okay. We'll talk about that offline. Okay.
Hey. Hey, all, thank you so much for joining and viewing this podcast episode with Sibling Andrea. This is Surviving Sibling Lost and Forgotten Mourners podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe and share with others. I love you guys so much and talk to you soon.